Hey guys, Sandy here, and welcome to the YouTube Hop for Redefined Creative and the Secret Not Secret Kit Club. Today we are all doing some sketches from Becky Fleck of Page Maps. So this is my sketch right here, and these are the products that I've pulled. I haven't pulled a lot. I pulled out some whimsical, my scrap bits from some recent Chamel collections, and my photos of California adventure in This is Cars Land. So let's see what I can do. Alrighty guys, here I am, take 2 for this voiceover here. Almost to the very end, and boom, everything failed on me. So I'm just thankful that I still have the video and we're at it. Now here I am, these are my photos from Cars Land in Disneyland, and I am cutting them down into the squares that are depicted on my page map sketch here. Now I decided to make my photos a little bit larger than what is called for on the sketch because I wanted to have a little bit more detail in my photos. I wanted to really call attention to everything that you could see in the photo. And I realized that I was a little bit ambitious, and my photos get cut down a whole lot because what I don't take into account is that the size on the sketch matters. It's there for a reason, because you need that size to fit across the page in the position that the little grid squares are on the page. Now, I decided to be a rebel a little bit, and it didn't turn out exactly as I planned. Now, I could have totally stretched this sketch to 2 pages and still used that size photograph, but I decided not to do that. As you'll see in a little bit, you'll see what I ended up doing. Now, I love this paper. I love this background paper. And this is where I think to myself, oh, Sandy, what did you do? You can't make a grid. You have 4 photos that are 3 inches across. And hello, that is 12 inches. There is no grid happening here. So I decided to trim it down a little bit more, but I decided not to make them squares like it calls for in the page sketch. What I decided to do was make them rectangles. That way I'm getting a little bit more of kind of like the full picture of what is going on. Not photograph, but picture. Like, you know, when you're talking about, hey, do you get the picture? It's just a tiny little snippet, and that 1/2 inch really cut off a lot of that snippet, a lot of that moment of the photograph. So here's a good lesson, I guess, for editing your photos and cropping them down and having them ready to go for your sketch. Now, I did not do that. I print everything in 4x6 and crop it down as needed, usually after the fact with a trimmer, which is what I did here. So instead of this really being a layout about Cars Land and the magnificence of it and just really getting into it, this is more turning into kind of the introductory page to the Cars Land section of this Disneyland trip. So it's kind of an overview. You're just getting a quick little peek through these 2x3 photo squares. Actually, I think they're like 2 by 2.5. I'm not exactly sure. They might be 2 by 3. I don't have the layout in front of me, or I'd measure it. It is already put away because I am the type of person that when my layout is completed, I need to put it away. And I keep forgetting about doing a layout share at the end of the month. So I need to start at least stacking my layouts for a month and then videoing them and sharing them and then putting them away. But anyway, I like my layouts put away. So here I am. I'm just trimming down some paper scraps in that same size of my photographs, and I am just using my scraps that I have here and These are scraps that I use for Disney trips and Disney trash can layouts. If you don't know about Disney trash cans, guys, you are missing out on a fun time. So Disney has some amazing trash cans. They are all the same shape, or just about all of them are the same shape, I should say. And they have something fun painted on most of them. So I love Disney trash cans. I love scrapbooking about Disney trash cans. I will talk to you about Disney trash cans. I have the Disney trash can salt and pepper shakers, and they are not in use. They are just in my cabinet. But I love the Disney trash cans, and these papers and these collections that I'm scrapbooking with are perfect. Whimsical, perfect. Chamel's collections, perfect. This Amy Tangerine collection that is failing me right now with the name of it, with the black and the pink and the white and the teal, perfect. I wish I could remember it. So here I am. I'm just putting my adhesive down on the yellow ombre paper and going to go ahead and place that over top of kind of like these paint marked background paper. And there we go. We're going to get that all down. And then I'm going to figure out where exactly these photos should be and where exactly the pattern paper should be. And I really don't put a lot of thought into this. I'm using the sketch to tell me where the photo should be and where the pattern paper should be, but that's really all I'm doing right now. And as you can see, my grid is very spread out. It isn't off to one side like the layout sketch calls for. And I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to make it into one cohesive moment. And I decided to do that with white cardstock. And you saw my fingers go, woo, like I had the idea. So I matted the photos. I also matted the small rectangles of pattern paper, and I matted my yellow ombre paper on white cardstock. And it's a very thin mat, just a little bit there, and just a tiny little bit to bring cohesiveness to the entire layout, because I do have different pattern papers, different collections, and I'm trying to figure out something that will bring them all together. Now this is a stencil from Brutus Monroe, and I'm using my Distress Oxide ink. And I chose this ink because it was such a great match to the navy blue of the background paper. And I only wanted my stenciled dots to show up on the yellow pattern paper. I didn't want it to show up at all on the white cardstock. I did not want the overlap. So what I'm using is a piece of purple tape, and it is a low tack sticky tape that you can use to hold dies together while you are running them through a die cut machine. You can use it as a mask like I'm doing here. It's great purple tape. And yes, I did just say purple tape because our family does things a little bit differently. So if we come up with something and it sticks around, and somehow I don't even remember anymore of how we got to saying purple was purpur, and it just has stuck. So whenever I use the purpur tape, it is a thing where my one daughter, who is still here at home, always says purpur tape with me. So there you go. There's a little bit of a moment of craziness in my life that you probably had no idea that you wanted to know. So now I'm just getting everything a little bit closer together, and I'm trying to make sure that there's some balance here. So there isn't too much dark in one row and there isn't too much light in one row. And I'm just trying to get all of my colors and everything balanced, and so it looks like it's meant to be that way. There's like harmony going on. Now I decided that I wanted to add one more because I miscounted, oops, and did not realize that I needed one more. So I grabbed this green paper with the white dots on it, and I'm just adding the white photo mat to that as well. Or I guess it's not a photo mat, just a mat to that as well. And I knew that it couldn't be up at the top. I did not want the two dots that close together. I didn't want them right next to each other. But now I'm kind of feeling like it's a little bit off. off. Like there's a little bit of something that needs to happen for this to really turn out into a great layout. So I am going to get some stickers, and this is from the Here and There collection from Crate Paper. And I'm deciding to use some of this foam tape to just pop it up. And I haven't peeled off the back of the foam tape yet, so I can definitely move things around and really just figure out where I want things to go. Now, I do take a couple more stickers, and I've got this little overlap going up here, and then I decide, you know what, I really don't want that pink there. But then I'm like, wait a second, I can't have the two pinks right next to each other, so something's got to change. Now, this is probably the most thought that I put into the layout whatsoever, and it was just those quick little changes, those quick little things, and I'm okay with it. Now I feel like I have a really good balance of light and dark colors. I have a good balance where the pink is not all on one row. And then I go ahead and move the photos as well. And the photo was only changed because I needed that space where there's just sky over the top of the tomato where my little sticker banner can overlap. Otherwise, I would have kept the photos the way I had them. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just laying that there gently. And I have not pulled off the foam tape that I've applied to the back of the sticker yet. So it's not really sticking down horribly or anything. It's not going to be hard to pop up because that is something I do when I am scrapbooking. I do love layers. I mean, I love me some good layers, but for some reason I cannot scrapbook the bottom layer first and the top layer last. I usually scrapbook the top layer and tuck and peel up and all that kind of good stuff. Here I'm just trying to figure out a couple other stickers that I can use, what I can make happen, what kind of decoration I can bring to my grid so it's not just blocks of patterned paper. And it looks like I put some thought into the layout and I specifically created something instead of just blocks of patterned paper. Now that's not to say sometimes I just want blocks of patterned paper, but this is a Disney layout, and on Disney layouts I always subscribe to the thought of more is more. So we're just going to figure that out. Now I'm going to layer up something here with this banner, and I'm thinking I need to layer up a little bit behind it just so that it gives that banner a little bit more depth. It kind of looks like it's wrapped around something, and that is what I'm just going to work on right now. Okay, so now that I've picked out everything that I'm going to do, I do have that little blue frame off to the side. I have some words that I'm trying to place, but they don't make it. And I want something behind that frame. So if I just would have put that frame down, it just would have framed out part of my little rectangle from my grid. And that isn't exactly what I wanted. I wanted something to be on top of the grid. Something that would connect the two pieces of the grid together. And this is because I am doing a mishy-mashy grid. And yes, that is the highly technical term. When I think of grids in basically, I would say, two different ways. One, I think of a tic-tac-toe grid where everything is separate into its own little section and nothing is crossing over. Like when you're playing tic-tac-toe, you place the X in the center of that box or the O in the center of that box. You don't place an X hanging over the tic-tac-toe grid line. It just doesn't work when you're trying to play tic-tac-toe. However, when you are putting together a grid for a scrapbook layout, that totally works. Like, it totally works to put that X or put that decoration over top the grid line. Totally works, and I love it. And that is a mishy-mashy layout. So, because this is a mishy-mashy grid layout, what I'm doing here is just basically eyeballing all of my little grid rectangles. If I wasn't having the overlap, if I wasn't doing the mishy-mashy and I was doing the straight tic-tac-toe, I would be much more careful with these squares, rectangles, or use some sort of ruler, some sort of line system, something to make sure that I was exactly straight and I had the exact correct right angles and everything was just on point. But since I'm not doing that kind of grid layout, I am totally cool with eyeballing it. And I really like the way it turns out. Now, as you can see, most of my little circles that I used my Distress Oxide ink with are covered up. You only see a little bit of it peeking out the side. You do see that bit at the bottom, and then over here where I'm getting ready to place this little banner cluster, there's some behind there as well. Now, I am okay that I've covered up most of my stenciling. Sometimes I really want my stencil to shine through. I really want that decoration to be on display. I really want you to be like, dang, that is some cool stenciling. Here, not so much. Here it's just kind of a little bit of extra color. It's just bringing that way background paper into the background paper of the yellow. Just trying to bring it in a little bit so that it is not kind of this heavy mess over top of a really light paper over top of another heaviness. And that is how I kind of visualize darker papers. Usually in my mind, they're heavier. So if that makes sense to you, I hope it does. If that makes sense to you, like, give me a thumbs up or something. Just so what makes sense to me makes sense to someone else. I just want you guys to be able to understand what I'm telling you and like how my thought process works, and not, you don't have to think that way. Like, you don't have to think dark colors are heavy, because dark colors aren't always heavy, but in this moment they are heavy. Now, originally I was going to do something cool with the title where Magical Moments was part of the title. I decided to scrap that idea and just go with something basic. Cars Land Trip. Like, it's not the most epic title ever. It's surely not going to get any literary awards. It is just Cars Land Trip. And I'm, again, totally cool with that basic title. Really not a lot of thought process went into it. It's just, this is what it is. And I am totally, totally on board with that because, like I said, my entire intention for this page changed. Now it's just like little teeny pieces of Cars Land. So Cars Land Trip, great introductor. Ugh, goodness. Yeah. I can't even say literary. Literary genius over here today, folks. Literary genius. So we get that down. Cars Land Trip. And then I obviously will have photos again after this page. And they might even be full 4x6 photos of the same little snippets of these. And I'm okay with that because there's so much more to see in the photos that I trimmed away. So I just went ahead and used my Distress ink blending tool and threw a little bit of the blue on top of that Cars Land word. And that was just so it wouldn't be such a stark white, and it just gives it a little bit of oomph. So now I'm just trying to figure out what else I need to put on here, what else needs to go where, like what things are going to go where. So this coppery color, I do have it in 2 places on the page, so I decided to put it up top here as well. And then that puts that coppery color in a triangle. And I'm just adhering down some extra things and trying to think what else I need to do to finish this page. And I feel like I need a couple more things. I don't want any of my grids to really be completely plain. I want them to have something around them, something about them. Like, I want everything to be like, I am important. So even the pattern paper, I want to be important. Now I grabbed these chipboard word phrases, and at first I think that they're going to go right here because I really like the way the black looks here. And as you can see, I'm also overlapping 2 of the grid rectangles together. Now I don't end up with that. That is not the final product. I pull out my stickers again and I'm like, ooh, yeah, we can do something fun. Now these are Pink Fresh stickers, and I add that pink heart there, and I'm thinking, wow, this is looking kind of busy. I add the little heart here and nestle that right into the corner of the star. And at this point, I'm just putting the little teeny touches. That's basically the ending. Like, it's the cherry on top. It is the sprinkles over the whipped cream. It is just that little bit of extra that just takes your creation from ice cream to ice cream sundae. And that is really the way I try to scrapbook my layouts. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I just want ice cream. But sometimes I'm like, I want the sundae. Like, I want it all. I want the sprinkles. I want the nuts. I want the hot fudge sauce. I want the cherry. Like, give it to me, all of it. And sometimes I'm like, just give me a plain old bowl of green. And in case you were wondering, green is the best ice cream ever, and that is mint chocolate chip. Now, total side note about ice cream. I think I've talked about this before with you guys, but ice cream, I love green ice cream. It is my favorite. I used to love Giant's green ice cream. Giant's a grocery store, and they used to sell their ice cream in plastic tubs. Does anybody remember the plastic tubs? It had an ice cream cone on it and 3 scoops, and whatever flavor the ice cream was pictured on the scoops on top of the ice cream cone. Loved that ice cream. It was so good. It was my favorite. Now, out here in California, we have something called Producers, and they make a pretty mean green ice cream too. Okay, so as you can see, I changed some things around. I brought more of that copper color in with the north, south, east, and west. And I brought the little black word phrases up to the top and put those pink hearts kind of, diagonally, like a zigzag pattern. It's not much. It's more of a zig, not a whole lot of zag because there's only 3 there, but it does work. So I'm thinking that I need to put something here, like something needs to go. And I was debating on a flare or using this globe. And I end up going with the globe and the brad. Now, I do put the brad tines down behind the globe and then just adhere it. And then I'm thinking I need some words on this page. So I take my Muji pen. I love this pen. It is probably my favorite pen to write with currently. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop a couple lines of journaling. Not a whole lot because, like I said, this is turned into an introductory page instead of a overview of the entire Cars Land. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish wrapping that up. I'm also going to put the date here in my own handwriting. No date stamp or anything like that, just putting it down. And then I do believe that is going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Go ahead, hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit that bell if you want to be notified when I do put up new videos. And be sure to follow around the hop to see what everyone from Redefined Creative and the Secret Not Secret Kit Club did with page maps this month. Bye, guys.